That's right, a black hole just appeared and sucked everything. Anyway, in this video, I want to go through the process that I used to create this image that I just posted on Instagram. Go check it out if you haven't. I actually got the image right here, sitting in this very chair. The background is also the same. I just placed a couple of books there instead of the cameras and the lenses that are there currently. The camera was placed roughly in the same position that it is right now. I was actually facing this way and looking up at this aperture A9 light. I had set the temperature to be a little bit warm because I knew that I was going to replace it with a black hole, which is kind of warmer. The light was fixed on a boom arm that's actually holding my mic right now, and I was actually staring right into the light. The point was that it should illuminate my face so that I don't have the huge task of adding light on my face in post. So after I got the light set up, I sat on the chair, I put the camera on the tripod, focused on myself and got a couple of pictures. And then I moved out of the frame and then got a couple of pictures of the background without changing the focal distance. Now that means the background is going to be out of focus in these images, but that's okay. That's how we want it to be. So now we have our images open here in Photoshop. I'm going to grab the background image and drag it on top of the image with me in it. I'm also going to reduce the fill of this layer so we can see what's beneath it. Then I'm going to create a layer mask for this layer, and I'm going to make sure that it's only visible in the top portion of the image and the bottom portion is just my face, and that's going to be from the layer beneath it. So basically just create a layer mask, grab the brush tool, set the color to black and paint over the face portion here. Next, I got this image of a black hole from the internet. I'm going to drop it on top of my document here. The next thing I'll do is change the blend mode of this layer to screen. What this is going to do is completely remove the black portions from the image. It's only going to show the non-black portions, which in this case is the black hole itself and the stars that you can see in the space around it. Then I'm going to convert this layer to a smart object so that any changes we make here can be modified later. Once it's been converted to a smart object, I'm going to transform this, scale it, rotate it so that it fits my picture better. And while I'm transforming it, I notice that this seems like it's kind of tilted towards one side. So I'm going to use the distort tool by right clicking and pressing distort and then moving these vertices so that it feels like it's facing forward. Okay, so now it's time to change the temperature of the black hole. As you can see, the light falling on my face has a kind of a warmer temperature, more reds and more oranges. That's what we're going to modify the black hole to look like. So I'm going to use the camera raw filters in this case. And I'm going to increase the temperature and the tint so that it looks more reddish orange color. Okay, that's looking good. Let's take a look at the before and after here. Okay, now if you know anything about a black hole, you probably know that the center of a black hole is supposed to be completely black. Not even light can escape the center of a black hole. But in this case, we are able to see through the center of the black hole. We are able to see the books behind it. That shouldn't be the case. Let's fix that. So what I'm going to do is create a duplicate layer of this black hole. And this duplicate, I'm going to set the blend mode to normal. Remember, the first one was set to screen. Now, once I set it to normal, I'm going to be able to see all the black regions, but I don't want to see the black regions everywhere. So I'm going to create a layer mask here and I'm going to make it visible only in the center portion. There we go. Okay, now we have all these stars around the black hole. A few of them around the black hole should look good, but this is expanding way too far. So I'm going to create a layer mask on the first layer and I'm going to erase out all these stars that are far away from the black hole. Okay, so this is turning into quite a bit of a science lesson, but what black holes also tend to do is they kind of warp the space around it. So the books that you are able to see behind the black hole should actually be kind of warped and like liquefied. So I'm going to convert this layer with the books into a smart object first, and then I'm going to add a liquefy filter to it. So my goal here is to liquefy around the edges of the black hole and make it look like near the edges of the black hole the books are like kind of going around the black hole. So I'm going to grab an appropriate brush size and I'm going to paint near the edge of the black hole. Okay, that's looking good, but the thing that I noticed right now is that there's not enough books in this image. I'd like it if there were more books to the left side of the black hole as well as there are to the right side of the black hole. So I'm going to copy these books that I already have here and I'm going to paste it on the left side. In fact, I have another image where the last book is turned the other way. So I'm going to grab that image, I'm going to paste it here and make it look like there are more books here than there actually are. So again, I'm going to reduce the fill so that I can position it in the right place, and then I'm going to use the same layer mask technique. I'm going to increase the opacity of this layer and just make it visible in this exact place where I want it to be visible and then invisible everywhere else. And so we have doubled the number of books that we have on this shelf. And since the last book is turned the other way, it doesn't even look like it's fake. It looks very realistic. Okay, so I had the liquefy effect turned off. Let me turn it back on. Now, we need to add the same liquefy effect for the second set of books that we just added here as well. So let's do the same thing. Convert it to a smart object, open the liquefy filter, and then start dragging our brush around the edge of the black hole on the left side this time. Okay, now I'm going to make some general modifications to the entire image, but I also want to rename all these layers to something meaningful. And I created this copy of my background layer here, which has basically just my face. I'm going to add a camera raw filter to this after converting it to a smart object. I'm going to bring down the temperature of this layer, so I just want a cooler look to the entire image, and also increase the tint a little bit. Now, do you notice something strange about this? There is something really strange about this. The thing is that the effects that I added right now are only applicable to the lower half of the image because the layer that contains my face is only visible in the lower half. The upper half is basically a combination of two layers, the one with the right half of the books and the one with the left half of the books. I'm going to copy this effect that I just added to the bottom half of this image and I'm going to paste it to the two layers in the top. Okay, now I'm going to group these background layers with the books into one group. I'm going to call it background group. And I'm also going to group black hole layers into one single group, call it black hole. Okay, now the only thing that's missing from this image is the glow of this black hole. So I'm going to create an empty layer in the black hole group. I'm going to call it light. I'm going to change its blending mode to screen, grab the brush tool and grab a color that is kind of warm from the edge of the black hole, and I'm just going to click once. And then I'm just going to go and modify the fill of this layer until it looks kind of good. And that's it. Now I got a second image as I showed you in the beginning, and I'm just going to do the same thing for this image. Basically, I'm just going to copy all the layers that I have in the first image, the black hole, the background, the liquefy effects, everything, and I'm just going to paste everything on this image here. And for the bottommost layer with my face on it, I'm going to copy the same styles that the layer in the previous image had, and I'm going to paste it on this layer. Okay, so after all that, this is how the image looks, but there's something missing here. The thing is, the finger is trying to touch the black hole here, and the finger should also be kind of warped like the books behind, right? So we need to add a liquefy effect on the bottommost layer. So here we are in the liquefy filter. The one thing that I noticed this time around is that there's a radial brush here that is perfect for this kind of situation. I did not know about this earlier, otherwise I would just have used this, but I'm happy with the result that I got with the manual brush that I used for the previous ones. Okay, so the warping of the finger, and the finger itself is not visible in this image unless I nudge the whole bottom layer a little bit lower. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this layer lower so that the finger and the warping is kind of more visible in this case. Okay, that's looking good, but it kind of looks like the hand is behind the black hole instead of like in the same plane as the black hole. So in order to address this, I'm just going to create a duplicate layer with the hand in it, and I'm going to put this portion ahead of everything else, that is in front of all the layers, on top of all the layers, so that it looks like it's in front of everything else. Okay, that's looking good. For some reason, the books in the back was actually invisible. I'm going to turn on that layer as well. Okay, that looks perfect actually. Alright, fantastic. Both the images are looking perfect. My last action is going to be a crop. The reason for this is, first of all, I want to crop it to a 4:5 ratio so that I can post it on Instagram. That's the perfect ratio for Instagram posts. And secondly, I never really meant to keep that top portion of this image. I wanted to crop it anyway. So here we go. And that is the end of the editing process. Here are the final images. And that's about it. That's the whole editing process. In fact, it doesn't have to be a black hole in this image. You can actually replace it with anything that emits light. Just make sure you have something to emulate that light source when you actually click the image, and then you can replace that with whatever object you want. So yeah, it's as simple as that. Getting sucked by a black hole. If you like the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with all your friends. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.